There we go. So, guys, do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction to where we are right now?
Yeah, sure. So this is the Pvm Hub. This is something we released into the game at the start of this year. This is kind of where most players, once you reach level 60 combat, will come to engage with all their sort of boss fights and prepping for boss fights. So you've got like the key utilities you need, sort of bank area, fire with chefs and busts before combat, an altar to recharge your prayer points, all that jazz. And we've got some combat dummies, which Mod Spiel will go over to shortly, where we'll show you some of the stuff you can do with combat, some of the features, different modes, that sort of jazz. But yeah, here you have those portals. The portals take you through to different boss locations, which you can attune and set them through. So it's like really quick and easy access to bosses you want to fight. And that's kind of what this area is about. You can group up with your mates, etc. Yeah.
Kind of a communal hub for PVM, really. And as you can see, there's a lot of players here, and awesome. Okay, Modpie, anything you want to add to that at all?
Not really. Like, I deliberately would stay quiet because I know Iago helped work on it, I believe. So, but this is awesome. So for years we had to you had to know where the bosses were and getting around. You had this boss portal once you were maxed, but not anymore. You don't have to be maxed. So it's absolutely awesome to have like a one-stop shop for getting stuck into combat as quickly as possible, because that's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely. Get in there, get stuck in. Okay, what are you doing at the moment, Modspear? Give us a little running commentary.
I just quickly grabbing out a combat set for each of the different combat styles, so I can actually show them all off, because otherwise I'm going to struggle. I'm going to start off with my...
That's a lovely segue, actually, because the first thing that I was going to ask was about combat styles.
Do you not have any presets? The different combat styles.
I was planning not to use presets on this, so I could talk through stuff while we're going through each section of the stream.
All right,
and also,
because we do have an option in our bank where you can like set up a bunch of presets, so you can like at one click set yourself up for a boss. It sets up what you're wearing and what's in your inventory, so you can just go click click. Let's go bossing. But yeah,
got 10 of those.
Sorry.
Why can I wear my helmet?
Okay, so Modpie, tell us a little bit about the combat styles. What are we thinking in terms of what you can do and how you can approach combat?
Cool. So one of the cool things about RuneScape is that it doesn't it's classless. So unlike a lot of other MMOs where they class lock you into choosing what you want to be, in RuneScape you can choose to be any one of our what's known as our 3 combat styles. So that is melee, where you're getting up close and hitting people with things. Ranged, where you're standing far away and shooting people with things, and then mage, where you're standing far away but you're shooting people with magic. It's the best way to describe it. But the cool thing about RuneScape is that you can choose to be the best at all of these, and you can also hot swap in between all of them as well. So you can 1 second be shooting people at range, then jump in and like hit them in the face. We also have, alongside those, we also have what's known as a defensive style, where you can basically set yourself up like a tank, but again you can weave that tankiness in. So you can shoot people, then swap into a shield, and then start like bunkering down or healing off of incoming damage, and then switch back to doing lots of damage. And you can do this all in flight. So RuneScape's combat, the best thing about RuneScape's combat is just the sheer amount of flexibility that it offers you. And it's really down to how much effort you want to put in to how much you get out of it, really. You can go really, really high technical, or you can just choose something and then click on something and let something die. But yeah.
I hit things with
yeah. I think that's a pretty good TLDR of the styles, really. Like, each of them have a subtly different gameplay style. So melee has our highest DPS, but obviously you need to keep up close, so if the boss is moving a lot, then you're going to be chasing them around. It's range after then. And then after that it's mage, which has currently, I believe, the lowest DPS, but also the highest utility, and you can weave that utility into the other styles anyway. So it's down to like how you want to play, etc.
Fantastic. Okay, Modiago, what given the choice, what combat style would you, if you had to choose one, what would you go with?
Straight up melee. I'm all about the damage.
Oh, yeah.
Give it all to me. Yeah, definitely melee. I think it's just, I personally find it a lot more fun to use. There's some nice abilities which give you good mobility. Yeah, melee's definitely my favourite.
I'm getting flamed for saying mage is the lowest DPS.
Was talking yesterday about being so he's very much in the melee camp as well, and was we were challenging him yesterday to see what kinds of bosses we could take on with it. He was very upset, very scared of taking on a couple in particular, but we managed to coax him to do it, and we'll do that later on in this hour. Okay, so we've done some combat dummies. So these are essentially, if you don't know what a combat dummy is, they are kind of, as you say, like dummies. They will not run out of energy. They give you the opportunity to kind of test and see what your max hits are and all of that kind of stuff. As you can see, there are lots of different types of what we call hit splats. So you'll have the kind of the standard ones. You'll have essentially critical hits, and then you'll have your kind of your max that you can hit as well. Please forgive me if I have got any of the terminology wrong here. I know it's Modiago's kind of grimacing behind the behind his camera.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
Good. Okay, good. Combat is not my specialist area, I have to admit, so I'm going to ask you guys to carry me a little bit during this section. But thanks very much, Mod Spear. Did we say we were going to go and talk a little bit about combat modes as well? I know Mod Osborne touched a little bit on the different modes that you can try, but Iago, it might be a good point to talk about. Obviously, we've got 3 different combat styles. But there are also combat modes. There are ways of engaging with mechanics of combat. So good to tee that up here, I think.
Sure. So, I mean, at the bottom of the screen right now, you can see there's 4 different action bars. You've got your primary one at the top with all the sort of green abilities. That's Modsphere's range setup at the moment. What you might see is on some of the abilities, you'll get a little circle appear around them. This is our ability queuing. So that's sort of first edition on top of the manual mode, which is where you're required to press all of your abilities to trigger them, and then you can queue the next ability, so it fires off for you when it comes off of that global cooldown. So that's sort of the base mode. All your action bars, you can either click the abilities or you can use keybinds for them, and customize the controls to whatever you want them to be. Then the second mode is Revolution, which you can edit, you can set up a bit differently. So Modspear is just going to take you through the game settings here, I think. He's just activated Revolution. So what you can see now on the action bar is there is that yellow bar around some of his abilities. So what that means now is it will automatically fire off all of these abilities from left to right. So you can, choose where you want them to be. You can also use ability queuing with this if you want to override that, which is nice, and you can manually override it as well. So it just gives you a bit more flexibility. On top of that as well, Revolution handles firing. You can toggle whether or not you want it to fire your different types of abilities. So in RuneScape we have 3 sort of tiers of abilities, if you want to call it that, which is our basic abilities, our threshold, and our ultimate. We'll go into that in a little more later. So you can toggle Revolution to say, okay, cool, I only want you to fire my basic abilities, which is what builds your adrenaline, or in other MMOs like your mana. Yeah, and that's pretty much Revolution. It works for all your combat styles, all of your abilities, be that magic, range, melee, defensive, etc. I think that's the most of it. We do also have auto retaliate, which you can see at the top of the action bar. There is a yellow symbol with 2 swords. You can enable and disable that, so as soon as you get attacked, you just auto retaliate and run to that NPC and attack it for you. So that's pretty nice if you're doing Slayer, killing loads of casual mobs, and yeah. Anything you wanted to add to that, Pi?
Not really. Other than we should probably cover the basics of how our adrenaline system works. In that it's kind of similar to a rage-based system in other games, where you've got your attacks, so what we call your auto attacks, which are your non-ability based attacks, and what's called your basics. These generate this adrenaline, and you can see slowly building in the middle of the action bar there. And then you've got your thresholds and your ultimates, which spend said adrenaline, and they're more powerful attacks, and they cost 15% for a threshold and 100% for an ultimate. So yeah, like I think that's all we needed to cover. Other than that,
okay, great. So yeah, so 3 kind of major combat modes, 3 major combat styles, plus offensive as well, and so we've kind of got a load of different options for people to be able to kind of play it their way, I suppose, is the best way of describing it, really.
Yeah. There is one other option as well. At ModSphere, if you could go to the game settings and then the combat tab, and we can just show off the location of some of these. So just in your escape menu, you go to settings, and then you've got them all categorized under combat and action bar. And then inside here, you'll find all your sort of your settings for it. And you can trigger your full manual, your revolution, etc. And there is also that final mode, which is legacy combat mode, for those who maybe used to play RuneScape a long time ago and want that old sort of style. We do have that, which is more just you attack and with the basic abilities, so you don't have any abilities, which ModSphere I think is going to show you shortly. Just has to drop out of combat to enable that. Yeah, so there's not much to this. You still have your information from the top of the action bar, but all of your abilities, etc., are no longer accessible, and it's more just sort of target your target wherever you want to attack, and it will do some damage for you. So it's a lot simpler, but less engaging and not as strong.
No, yeah, you really do want to get onto Revolution ASAP, really, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely worth
especially
putting the effort into
definitely for like the tool set it gives you actually using the full game's combat system, because Revolution does offer you that. It just doesn't offer you. It offers you less moment-to-moment choice, but it's still pretty powerful. And you know, people have killed all of our bosses using Revolution, as much as no one wants to admit it.
All right, okay, so we've done War's Retreat, which is kind of commonly known as the Pvm Hub. So let's move on to talking about some kind of, I suppose, not necessarily pure combat skills, but skills that will tie into combat. Should we start with Slayer? ModSphere, do you want to get yourself set up for your current Slayer task that you have? Cool. Okay. Before we get into that, we'll talk a little bit about a couple of other skills that will support your combat experience. Things like summoning, things like prayer. All of those things kind of have an additional benefit to you when you're in combat. Modpie, are you able to give us a little bit more context with regards to some of those support skills and how they might you might be able to see them on the screen?
Yeah, so on screen, that's a difficult one. So should we start with prayer? So prayer is this resource. So if you want to do me a favor and hover over your prayer points on your action bar quickly. These things. So this is a resource that will constantly train, and prayers are this kind of always-on passive buff is the best way to put it. But having it on costs you these prayer points. So the whole time it's on, it will be draining. So if you turn on the protect item prayer, and it's called curses there. I'm saying that to save you prayer points. It's the top left. Top left.
Oh yeah.
There we go. If he turns it on, there you can see that slowly draining. I've deliberately chosen a really slow draining one, but you can see it slowly draining. And this means that if he dies, he saves one more item, for instance. But there are ones that boost your damage and accuracy and defense. It's passive in that you turn it on and off, and it's always on, always on, off. You don't have to trigger it every single time. After that, we have potions, and these are again they're a buff that you need to upkeep. So they are potions as things that you drink, and then they again give you a buff But these are things that you need to upkeep a little bit more. So you need to upkeep each potion individually rather than prayer. You just need to upkeep that prayer, and as you turn on more prayers, it drains more from that one resource. So you can get like super attack, defense, and these are buffing your specific stats. And then the last one was summoning, wasn't it? So prayer potions are from the herb lore stat. So the last one is summoning, and these are familiars, we call them. So they're things which help you fight alongside you. Some store items, some fight alongside you, deal lots of damage. Some can heal you. They're pretty cool. But they're just you summon them. You do have summoning points, but you only need the points to summon it, and it slowly drains. So that's a bit easier to upkeep that one.
I'm
But I
just going
believe
to quickly refresh my summoning points so I can actually show a familiar. And then I will go and hit things.
Oh yeah, so you got special move points there as well. Each summoning familiar has a special move that they can do. Like one banks for you, another one does like a really powerful attack, for instance.
Ripper Demons are everyone's least favourite.
I love Ripper Demons. What are you talking about?
That altar at the Wars Retreat does restore your summoning points, by the way.
It does if you've unlocked it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
I've got mine overwritten at the minute, so you can't see the Fire Titan. What you should be seeing is Big Flaming Man, but I've got it overwritten with Colonel's Campers as a new addition to the game, who is infinitely superior.
I mean, yeah, the graphical quality of that will be slightly better than the Fire Titan, let's be honest. And that looks cool, to be honest with you. But yeah, you can override your familiars with like your pets, for instance. Like we have our bosses, for instance, have miniature versions of them in game. That's like a super rare drop. So we wanted to offer you the ability to always show that off, so you can override the look.
Cool. Just a quick one. We are aware of some issues that players are experiencing with linking your RuneScape and Steam accounts at the moment. I think it's probably because we've got, I mean, it's a nice problem to have, but too many people trying to connect at the same time. So we are investigating. If you are struggling at the moment, probably the best way of being able to do this is going onto our website and linking through our website rather than through the client. So if you are able to do so, please do so, and you'll be able to hopefully get in a little bit quicker. So just a quick tip. We are working on it though, and we'll update you in due course. So back to your previously scheduled program. Mod Spear, what are we doing now? Where are we going?
So my current Slayer task is Dark Beasts, and probably the easiest set of them to get to for me is in Cordell's Slayer training cave in here, which is a little dungeon you can only get into if you have a Slayer task. It also means hopefully there'll be a few less people around, so I don't have to fight for them.
Do you not have the ring?
Not on me. No, I don't have one at the moment, sadly. I don't see dragons. Who doesn't like dragons?
Cool. So we're talking about Slayer here. Then let's give a quick little introduction to what the Slayer skill is. Iago, what if you could just kind of pot it down into what it essentially is? What would you say in terms of describing Slayer?
In its very basic form, it's you have a Slayer Master who assigns you a task to go and kill a certain number of NPCs, creatures, and you kill them and you get a reward, and you get Slayer XP, which you level up. When you get the XP and you unlock more creatures that can be assigned to you, and all these creatures might have different mechanics, might have, might be quite quick, might be quite difficult, different rewards, and that is it in its simplest form.
And it's a really good kind of money-making skill as well, isn't it, in terms of being able to kind of we haven't talked necessarily about loot so far, which is perhaps a little bit of an oversight on our part, but obviously one of the reasons why a lot of people do a lot of combat and killing the creatures is to get the loot. So within sort of killing as many beasts as you would do within Slayer, you're obviously likely to get more loot, more money, more consumables, more things that you can use to kind of benefit your RuneScape experience. Let's before we kind of go into Slayer a little bit more, let's talk a little bit about loot, drop tables, all of that kind of stuff, so that we can kind of head all of those conversations off now. Iago, you look like you were about to kind of move forward anyway with it, so I'll push this one over to you in terms of drop tables. Give us a little bit of a potted summary.
Sure. I mean, so all the creatures have unique drop tables. So same drop table across all Dark Beasts, which is what we're fighting right now on screen. But the drop tables, you can see on the ground there is these sort of items, these square items. They're noted items, so when you get those ones, they stack in your inventory. So you can see at the bottom here of the inventory, on the bottom right.
Basically, an IOU with RuneScape's banking system. It's the best way to think of them.
So they stack, so it makes it easier to sort of manage your inventory throughout the tasks. But you also can get loads of different things, from food to help you through the task, to arrowheads, which if you're Iron Man style, that'll come in very useful. We can use those arrowheads to fletch your own bolts, and we've also got some herbs here which you can use to make your own potions for combat. And yeah, the drops differ completely across all the different NPCs across the game, and there's quite a lot of tasks. I think we have somewhere about 170, 180 unique monsters you can fight. How that transfers into the amount of tasks, that's a bit different, a bit less, but there is about that many different unique monsters for Slayer.
Just to add a bit to Slayer, the reason Slayer is a skill, and it's not just part of core combat, is that these creatures are particularly difficult to kill in world. You require a specialist, and what you're training is that ability, that knowledge of how to handle these creatures. Some of which require specialist equipment, some of which require you to have done certain things to be able to, not get instantly killed by them. But a lot of them have quite unique drop tails as well, like these dark beasts drop a unique bow that only drops from these dark beasts.
Yeah, yes, a great point. There is quite a few mobs which have a very unique drop, be that like some really top tier gloves or boots which you can wear. Yeah, that covers most of it. We do have a looting system as well, so when you have like multiple drops in the area, a little user interface will pop up, and you can manually select them, customize what you pick, or you can take it all, just to make it a bit convenient when you are trying to pick up all those rewards you've just earned.
I've also got a couple of our convenience items on us as well. So I've got this charming impling who's automatically picking up any summoning charms that drop for me. I've got a bone crusher on my tool belt, which anytime a creature drops a bone, it's automatically burying it for the prayer XP for me. So as you level up and get these rewards, it takes a lot of the faff out of being able to come and do tasks like this.
That's what we're all about, taking away the faff.
Earning the right to take away the faff.
Sorry, earning the right to take away the faff. Yes, absolutely.
But that's the organic progression. It's the organic progression of your character from adventurer who's just spawned in, has no clue what he's doing, to elite, efficient killing machine.
As I say, speaking of elite killing machines, Mosby, how are you getting on? Are you how far are you into your task?
I've got 180 more to go. I've got a little counter in the top right above my mini map.
Okay. We definitely don't have that long.
We're not doing the whole thing while I'm here for sure.
Okay. But when you do complete your task, then you go back to one of the Slayer Masters, whichever one gave you the task in the first place, and then you'll get another task, which will then the cycle will start again. And
you'll get some Slayer points to get some unique Slayer rewards as well. You can unlock, which are all pretty useful. Yeah, the key thing for me with Slayer tasks like this is that I have more food than I came in with, so for me it's all about being able to manage my sustainability and taking on hordes and hordes of enemies effectively, and then seeing how many I can pull at a time to safely AoE it and speed things up. The other reason I love melee is the whirlwind and the slam.
Yes, probably one thing I didn't probably cover there is like a lot of these monsters as well have unique abilities. So there's some, you might want to bring a specific style with you. So you do have to, there is a little bit of preparation for these tasks. It's great. The other thing you get from Slayer as well is XP both in Slayer and your combat skills. So it's a really, really good way to level your combat, and you can do this like from level 1. So pretty much as soon as you enter the game, you go and get a Slayer task and be on your way. Slayer Masters usually give you some tips about like, what you might need to kill them. So there might be something you need to buy from the Slayer Master, like like a nose peg, because the creatures smell and they'll do damage to you. My
favourite one is the spiky helmet for the giant hand, so they can't just go.
Only in RuneScape would you find that you're damaged by smell, which is a nice little touch. Just a couple of questions. A couple of questions that I've seen in the chat. So a couple of people are asking for us to go to QBD. Well, actually, stay tuned because we will do in a second. Should we leave Slayer there? Should we go over to kind of the next part of our little combat showcase? Mod Spear's favourite part that he was really looking forward to.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of kind of dungeon style content in RuneScape as well, which are kind of some of the more elite PVM challenges. We have a group of elite dungeons. There are now 3 of those in game where you can go in a group and sort of take down the series of beasts in kind of a more narrative focused experience. And then we have the God Wars dungeons. Which is where we are going to go now. We have 2 God Wars dungeons. Some of you might remember God Wars Dungeon 1. We're going to take you to God Wars Dungeon 2 and take on one of the bosses there, which again, Modspear was delighted about because he hadn't tried it before.
Well,
he tried it last night.
I was.
He tried it last night. Do you want to tell the story?
Yeah, so I went in last night to practice because I haven't done this boss before, and obviously I couldn't have attuned the portal if I hadn't done the boss before, which would have made this all slower. But so I went in, I fought Vindicta for the first time, got absolutely slapped the first time, went in the second time, managed to get it because I worked out, realised what I did wrong. And somewhere in here we have the beasts. This is all of the bosses in the game, and you can track your kill counts for each one in here as well, and which of their many various drops you've received. So I said in my clan chat, yeah, I've just beaten Vindicta for the first time because I was fairly happy, and there's a quick chat feature which lets you share how many times you've killed a boss. So everyone does that, and they're all upwards of 300 because all my clan mates are much better at PVM than me. So I share mine. It says I've killed it once. So I went back in and killed it again, and I immediately got the Dragon Rider Lance.
Good job.
44 million. I nearly got kicked for being a rucksack.
From being scared of Vindicta before the stream, have we converted you from QBD to Vindicta?
I mean, I'm glad I went to do it. So yeah, let's give it a shot.
So I mean,
I'll keep the Fire Titan.
Can I ask you to choose my lottery numbers this week, please, Modspear?
Yeah. I'll give it a shot. We've got to split it if we win. Yeah.
I can't wait for you to get the pet on your next kill.
Oh, that'll be exciting, wouldn't it?
That would be savage. Right, I'm only going in. I'm not going to take you.
I think I don't F4 the stream, to be honest with you.
I mean, again, an important point there. We talk about sort of loot and drops and things like that. There are some really kind of interesting, unique, kind of almost prestige items that you can get from some of these particular bosses as well, where you'll get things like boss pets and so unique items that you can transform into really powerful weaponry and powerful items that will help you kind of at the really top tier of the game. So we're gonna take you to Vindicta, who is in God Wars Dungeon 2. I think that was released in 2016. God Wars Dungeon 2. Still, I think some of the more varied combat encounters in game. But now we're kind of talking more kind of higher tier content. ModPie, if you were to kind of go to or have a go-to boss that you would go to, which one would it be and why?
Depends on how I'm feeling. If I want to make money and chill, I'm going to be lame and I'm going to go Kree because I can AFK that. I've leveled up enough to fully AFK a boss. But Telos is just the most fun. Like the boss evolves with you. It gets you to do an awful lot of things which no other boss in RuneScape does ask you. And it's one of the very few bosses that will genuinely ask you questions randomly. It's just such a fun boss. And if you go on the journey from like 0% in rage to 500 plus to 4K, if you're feeling it, you will be such a better PVMer at the end of it. And Telos would have taught you it. And I love Telos. Yeah, that's my go-to.
So before I start, have I forgotten anything crucial, you two? I've got my prayer potions, I've got food, I've got my buff potions.
We're going to let you find out and see what happens.
Fair enough. I haven't brought a usual meta summon with me, but I've got the Fire Titan I'll have to do.
Okay, while we watch Modspear make a fool of himself, I'll go.
I'm going to do some full manual as well.
What's your favourite boss? Yeah, I'll go.
I'm gonna have to go for, if it's group content, I would probably do solo. If I'm looking to just do some PVM on my own, then I'm probably going to go for Araxor just because I've built so much of that, and I'm also working on the collection log at the moment, which I've been really, really unlucky on. But yeah, probably Sarlacc, which is a big free boss, or Araxor, which is a giant spider. If any of you into killing spiders, we've got one.
Kill it with fire. Kill it with lots of fire.
I do love Araxor, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's your next boss, by the way, Mod Spear. After this one, we do need to talk
like I said to Oswald,
about your setup. Like you should probably be. You should probably use your prayers, for instance. That'd be good. And those potions you brought, you should click on them.
This has turned into a PVM intervention.
Yeah, to be fair,
there's people in chat talking about shield switches for the hurricane, but yeah, I'll let you off. But like, I was hoping you bring a shield switch, so I could. Yeah, which is cool. So that's an armor set in our game that will take your incoming damage and convert it into a damage over time effect. It's just called Stagger in other games, I believe. So it's actually a really cool effect. So you can see that he's not getting hit huge numbers because by the boss. That's because his armor set is turning all of that damage into a damage over time effect. But yeah, like I said,
top 2 mod spear. I would say because he's said before he's not a combat person.
I'm very proud of him.
Yeah, he's
very proud of him.
I'm playing on a PC. I'm playing on a PC that's halfway across the country remotely right now.
If this was homework, I'd give you a B-, see me. But you know, like I'm very proud of you. That's still a pass grade. You know what I mean? But yeah, I was kind of hoping that you bring us a shield, because normally when he does that big spinny attack, you'll do this effect called resonance, where you kind of heal off of the damage you take of that spinny attack to give you a bit more sustain. Especially if you feel like standing in fires a lot. I can see you're panicking, so I'm just going to make it worse for you. But yeah, but that is the really cool cool thing about RuneScape, is that, you know, as you kind of grow with the combat, there's all these things that make you more efficient and such a better combatant, and all these little add-ons you can add, like the trimmed masterwork gear that you're wearing. It's really cool.
Yeah, so
if PVM's your thing, we've got loads of clans, we've got loads of sort of support articles. There's loads of great guides on YouTube as well. If you're interested in getting into PVM, that will help you perhaps more than this segment might do. But there's some really good content in there for you to try. But Mod Spear, you take it away.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to say that there are definitely people who are a lot better at PvM than me. My tactic is very much I'm wearing a lot of good stuff and I'm just going to hit things with a big stick till I win.
Which is perfectly fine. To be honest with you, like yeah, well done, buddy. To be honest with you, I give you props for using full manual. I was not expecting that. I was expecting a Revo Warrior on stream, and I'm very proud of you for that.
New personal record as well, Mod Spear. Well done. Woo!
Can I get some PogChamps in the chat for Mod Spear?
People like 3-minute kill. Ouch.
Hey, we all start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I'm actually very proud of you for stepping up for this challenge. As much as I'm reaming you during it, it's all a bit of fun.
Yeah, I think, as I say, it's important. We started from the bottom. Now we're here. We've done one of the I suppose one of the higher tier bosses in game, and as I say, there are more difficult combat challenges than Vindicta. There are much easier combat challenges than Vindicta as well. Yeah, I think, again, just to highlight, there are so many different bosses, so many different combat styles, and so many different mechanics that you can learn as part of PVM within RuneScape. It's really there is a lot to learn, but it's quite fun learning at the same time.
Yeah, you're well on your way. To be honest with you, you're well on your way.
Yeah, I've been focusing on skilling way more for trying to get up to max before I worry about learning how to PVM properly. But I can just about get away with it.
So, what's your kind of PVM journey then, ModPie? How have you got to where you are? Where you're kind of in this place where combat is kind of your the thing that you're kind of most known for. How did it kind of start from before starting at Jagex to kind of starting, and then where you are now?
Oh wow. Okay, so I actually did a lot of PvP when I was a player. I didn't do a huge amount of PVM, to be honest. Before, I mean, I used to do an awful lot of Corp and God Wars before this. So there's two bosses. So the God Wars before this God War, we have many God Wars, of which this is one of them. So I got involved in that, but I mostly did PvP. So when we made this new combat system, that was kind of one of the reasons why I was brought on. But now I focus a lot more on PVM, and it's just a case of kind of letting the combat system grow with you. So I'd say start with something simple like Giant Mole and KBD, like ace that, then start something little bit harder. So try the Corporal Beast, or QBD is a great stepping stone into something that's a bit more technically challenging. But also these God Wars 2 bosses, like they're not, like the mechanics are not massive. You don't, it doesn't kind of overload you. But then once you've done that, once you can do QBD, then you can do Araxor, to be honest with you. The technical complexity of each of the phases of Araxor isn't that much higher than QBD, actually, on paper. Obviously, you're getting hit a lot harder, and there's slightly more things going on all at once. But if you can do phase 4 QBD, you can probably kill Araxor. And then after Araxor, just go to Big Man Telos. Just go hard or go home at that point, and you can, again, 0%. 0% Telos is easier than 0% Araxor, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so
I
if
definitely
you can do that,
agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. So but this is why I love Telos so much, is that he kind of grows with you. As you get better, he gets better, and that's a lot of fun. I don't know, what would you go for?
We're going for Telos. Oh god. Oh, sorry. I was going to say we're going to go for Telos after this then.
No, I wouldn't do that to him.
That's great.
He's got a textbook to read for Telos, I think.
Yeah, I'll go. Sorry, I interrupted. Go for it. What would you go? What's your kind of journey to where you've got to with combat?
I mean, so before I actually joined Jake's working on RuneScape, I was quite big into PVM at the time, doing quite a lot of it. I started off back in the day with after Calfight King release. So there was just more group combat at the time, with usually like a few friends. And then I transitioned onto our quite famous boss in RuneScape called Vex, which was mainly duos, and then I learned how to solo it. Well, this is getting close.
It's getting dicey.
And from there, I ended up getting into Araxor, and I really got into it. I've got a few thousand kills there, and I did start. Well done, and a new record. Look at that.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Not I didn't try
Smashing
for you.
out their records.
I'm getting out of here.
I think we need a breather after that one.
You've got to make it look dramatic.
Now,
it's the art of production.
I was going to say, is that not more entertaining than watching somebody just absolutely blitz it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone loves an underdog story.
There was, I'm not gonna lie, there was a little part of me that wanted to see Modspear die, because I think a very important point is not just for the laughs, but like a very important point is the death mechanic in RuneScape, which we haven't really covered. So when you do die to bosses,
go for it.
we have you get sent to Death's office. So this is Modspear is just accessing that as well here. But you get sent here, and when you talk to Death, he will ask you to pay for your items to get all of your items back, and he will hold these for I think it's up to 7 days if you're logged off. So if you do die and you do rage quit, you've got 7 days to come back. Yeah, and all you have to do is you pick a few items which won't charge you to pay for, and then the rest you'll have to pay some coins for. That's pretty much it. You get it all back then. Yeah.
Ooh, okay, well, we've got about 5 minutes left. Let's go and do some QBD, shall we? So the Queen Black Dragon. We've not put. So we're not even halfway through the stream yet. We've already put Modspear through hell. So let's do it. Let's do some.
Yeah. Give me a second.
I think this is the one that this is the one that you. So this is the one you requested, Modspear. So you should be happy.
Well, yeah, but I request it because, as you're saying, if you can do it well, you can do the more complicated bosses. But if you just outgear it like I do and can do it badly, you can still do it.
Right, I'll be judging your positioning then, Modspear. It's fine.
Nelly, positioning's hard.
This is like watching a football game, isn't it? Where you've got the analysis at half time, but you're actually bringing somebody in whilst you're doing the analysis. Backseat J modding. Yeah. Okay, what else do we want to cover when it comes to combat? Just while we're setting Modspear up for QBD kill. In terms of, I think we talked sort of giant mole. Is there, if we were a new player coming into game, we wanted to get into bossing or PVM, where would be the kind of starting points to get to or to go to? ModPie, what would you sort of recommend to kick off with?
It probably wouldn't be giant mole actually. I'd probably try and get involved in one of the KBD masses. So there's actually a high level drop from one of our lowest level bosses. And they quite often they will have community streams that do what's known as masses. That's where tons and tons of people all take on the boss together. So I'd say probably get involved in that, just so you kind of get rid of the fear that that you would normally have of like dying and turning up at a boss. Just kind of diffuse that fear first, and then try and take on giant mole. But yeah, get involved in the communities basically. The PVM community is actually very, very helpful one. Sometimes a bit of a trial by fire, like I'm giving Modspear here, but they do all actually want to kind of help you get better, one way or another.
Trial by fire, quite literally in this instance.
Oh, quite literally. Well, both instances really, actually.
Yeah, chat very helpful to point out I nearly forgot to bring an anti-fire with me, which would have been disastrous. That would have been dead.
I mean, yeah, that would be classic JMod PVM on stream right there.
Yeah,
it's not quite Mod Shogun dying to a rat.
I was going to say Mod Shogun. Yeah.
That was great fun.
Forgot about this.
I mean, you positioned really well to walk with the firewall there. I was very proud.
Yeah, I'm playing on a remote machine. There is some lag.
Iago, just in terms of new game experience, then, just while we're waiting for Modspear to potentially die to QBD, what would you say in terms of new players or players coming back, apart from perhaps getting involved with communities or starting off with masses? Anything else at all to add to that?
Sure. I do think that Slay is probably a really friendly way of getting to learn the combat system. As you're sort of leveling up, you'll start unlocking more abilities, and you can start bringing them into your ability rotation. In terms of bosses, I would give probably the same advice as ModPie just did. Look to group up with some friends or a mass, and take on a relatively easy boss. You do need certain gear and stuff for some of these bosses or certain potions. I definitely recommend doing a little bit of research, asking some friends or something if they've got any hot tips for you. Our RuneScape wiki does have a lot of that information for you as well, so if you're ever a little stuck, just search for RuneScape wiki and you can search all your answers, all your questions in there and get the answers you want. Yes, I would personally go for Slayer. I think it's relatively nice for slowly progressing you, slowly giving you more and more creatures, which slowly ramp up in difficulty.
Cool. Just to quickly jump on your point as well about guides and things like that, there is some great we've actually just put a guide up on the community hub around combat. It probably will have a do not do it this way approach, maybe a video of again this live stream.
Don't kill the crop one.
It's okay, I didn't write it.
One. But also there are loads of player guides as well on things like YouTube that are going to be able to give you a little bit more of, I suppose, a hands-on visual experience as well of how you can perhaps get some of this stuff done in a little bit more of an effective way. As I say, as we're watching Modspear right now, we'll probably just do one round of QBD, and then we'll probably head to a little 5-minute break, just so that we can have a little bit of a recharge of the batteries. But we will be back afterwards for some chat with Mod Raven and Mod Stew around questing and lore. Those guys, you don't want to miss those guys. They are always great value for money, even though, as I say, we're not paying anything for this live stream, so they're great value for money. And we will be doing actually the quest that leads you into Queen Black Dragon, which is a Song from the Depths. So we'll be going through that in about 5-10 minutes or so. So if you're excited to get a little bit of a read through from those guys, then please do. Modspear's even laughing at himself right now.
I'm struggling with the lag, dude. It's horrendous trying to position anything. The remote machine.
That's the typical gamer's excuse, though, isn't it? The lag.
Oh yeah.
So.
Do you want to stand off that platform?
Yeah, I'd love to. Oh Jesus!
You're in P4 now. You probably want
Yeah,
I've completely forgotten how this fight works. To be honest, since I last did it, which is why I'm sort of just flustered and all over the place.
And it's the fact that you've got a few people watching you as well.
Only a few,
you know.
not too many.
Come on Steam, it'll be on Steam. It'll be great.
Yeah. As we said, as I say, there are lots of different ways that you can engage with RuneScape. Combat's not necessarily a thing. There's plenty of other things you can get involved with, skilling, questing, clue scrolls, all of those kinds of things. Which actually, if this kind of high intensity, high octane, heart pumping combat isn't necessarily your thing, then there's plenty of other ways you can get involved with it. And as I say, Modspear isn't necessarily a PVM expert, and I applaud him for coming on stream today to kind of try out his wares. He has done it. Well done, Mods.
Well done, buddy.
Yeah, I just realised what I forgot. I didn't turn any bloody auras on.
So if you want to learn how to kill this boss, there's a video of me teaching Mod Allspawn how to kill the QBD. I'd suggest you watch it. It'll be good.
I'm just apologising to Twitch chat.
All right, guys, we're going to have a little bit of a 5-minute break now, just to recharge the batteries a little bit, get ourselves a drink, but we'll be back in 5 minutes to talk lore, to talk questing. God, that's how much we need the little break. But thank you very much, Iago. Thank you very much, Pi, for giving us a little bit of an intro to combat. Iago, you're going to be back to talk a little bit about skilling later on, and talk a little bit archaeology. So we'll look forward to that in about a couple of hours' time. But thank you very much, guys. We'll be heading to a quick 5-minute break, and we'll be back in a second. Hope everyone's enjoying their time on Steam so far.
Cool.